When Ethan opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was not the ceiling of his rented room. It was someone's face, and not just anyone's face. An alien woman was on top of him. Her glowing green eyes were wide, her breath fast, her hands pressed against his chest as if holding him down. For a moment, his sleepy brain froze. He thought he was still dreaming, but no. The weight on his chest was real. The pressure of her fingers was real, and the fear in her expression was too sharp to be imagined. Ethan's voice broke the silence. Who are you?" The woman did not answer. Her body trembled. He noticed details in those tense seconds. The strange blue pattern across her skin like faded tattoos, and the soft shimmer of silver dust on her hair. Her uniform looked torn as if she had been running through fire or claws. He tried to push himself up, but she pressed harder on his chest. "Stay still," she whispered, her voice both commanding and desperate. Ethan froze. The room around them was silent except for the low hum of his small generator outside. His house was supposed to be empty. He lived alone, far from the city, far from anyone who could bother him. But now, there was an alien housekeeper he had never hired, holding him down as if his life depended on it. Before he could question her again, the sound came. Thud, thud. Something heavy moved outside his door. The woman's ears twitched. Her eyes darted toward the sound, then back to him. She leaned closer, so close he could smell the strange metallic scent on her skin. "If you move, they will hear," she breathed. Ethan's blood ran cold. "They, who are they?" She didn't answer. Instead, she shifted her weight, shielding his body with hers as the shadows of two tall figures passed by the window. He saw their silhouettes, long arms, bent backs, and heads shaped like spears. Predators. Not human. Ethan's heart hammered in his chest. He wanted to ask 100 questions, but her grip on him tightened. She was shaking, but her eyes stayed sharp, waiting, listening. Minutes passed like hours. Then finally the shadows moved away. The heavy thuds faded into silence. The woman let out a shaky breath and collapsed against him, not from weakness but from exhaustion. Ethan felt her whole body trembling. He carefully placed a hand on her arm. You saved me?" Her lips parted. She looked down at him with those bright eyes, and for the first time he saw something behind the fear. Guilt. "No," she whispered. "I was saving myself." "You were only in the way," Ethan frowned. He wanted to push her off, but something in her voice stopped him. She wasn't lying. She wasn't pretending. She had been desperate. He slowly sat up, and she did not resist this time. Her hand slipped from his chest. She looked around his small, simple room. The wooden walls, the cracked table, the single light bulb flickering above. Her breathing steadied, but her eyes stayed restless. "You shouldn't be here," Ethan said carefully. "This is my house." "I know," she replied. Her voice cracked. "That is why I chose it. Because no one ever comes here. Because no one would expect me here." Her words raised more questions than answers. Ethan leaned forward. "Expect you? Why?" "Who are you running from?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Hunters. They will not stop until I am caught." Ethan felt a chill crawl down his spine. Whoever those creatures outside were, they had been searching for her, and they had almost found her here in his house. He rubbed his face, still half in shock. "So, you came here, broke into my home, and—" He glanced at her again. "Laid on top of me to hide?" Her lips pressed together. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she met his eyes with a look so raw it made his breath hitch. "No," she said softly. "I laid on top of you. Because your heartbeat was the only thing that could hide mine." Ethan froze. The words sank into him like a blade. He didn't understand them yet, but he knew one thing. This was only the beginning. And whatever danger she had brought into his life, it was already too late to turn back. Ethan couldn't sleep the rest of the night. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the strange woman who had nearly crushed him moments ago. Now she stood by the window, her eyes scanning the darkness outside. Every time a tree branch moved, her shoulders stiffened. She hadn't told him her name. She hadn't told him why she was being hunted. All she gave him was silence and that one strange confession. "Your heartbeat was the only thing that could hide mine." Ethan didn't know what that meant. Was it science? Magic? Fear? The generator outside sputtered and the lights flickered. The woman flinched as if the sound were a gunshot. Ethan cleared his throat. "You're making me nervous," he said softly. Her glowing eyes shifted to him. She was still tense, but her voice was calmer than before. "Nervous is good. Nervous means you're alive. Ethan almost laughed, but he didn't. Something about her tone made him realize she wasn't joking. Whoever those hunters were, she had lived too long under their shadow. He finally asked, "What do I call you?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Lyra." The name felt heavy in the air. Not human. Not local. Ethan repeated it under his breath. "Lyra, and you're saying those things outside are after you?" Lyra's eyes darkened. "They're not things. They are hunters bred for one purpose, to track blood. Once they taste your heartbeat, they never forget it." Ethan shivered. "Then why bring them here?" "This is my home, my only safe place." Her lips pressed together. For a long moment she didn't answer. Then she stepped closer, her shadow stretching across the floor toward him. "Because I had no choice," she whispered. "If they find me out there, I die. If they find me in here, maybe we both die. But I could not die alone." "Not yet," Ethan stared at her. The fear in her voice was real. He wanted to push her out, tell her to leave, but something deep inside held him back. There was too much honesty in her trembling words. He asked quietly, "Why not yet?" Her eyes softened, but her jaw stayed tight. "Because I carry something they want. If they get it, no world will be safe. Not yours. Not mine." The room fell silent. Ethan's skin prickled as if invisible fingers ran along his arms. He didn't know if she was insane, lying, or deadly serious, but something about the way she said it, the cold certainty, told him she believed every word. Before he could press her for answers, a sound cut through the night. Scratch, scratch. The walls trembled as claws dragged across the wood. Ethan's breath stopped. Lyra's head snapped toward the door, her eyes glowing brighter. She raised her hand, and for the first time Ethan noticed the small metal device wrapped around her wrist. It hummed faintly, as if alive. The scratching grew louder. A shadow moved beneath the door crack. Ethan grabbed the nearest thing, a broken chair leg, while Lyra pressed the device on her wrist. It sparked weakly, a dying weapon. Then, silence. The scratching stopped. The shadow vanished. Ethan's heart pounded so hard he thought it would break his ribs. Lyra slowly lowered her hand. Sweat ran down her temple. She looked at him with sharp, urgent eyes. "They know you now." Ethan swallowed hard. "What does that mean?" "It means," she whispered, "you are no longer just a man in his quiet home. You are part of the hunt." The weight of her words crushed him. His life, which had been quiet, ordinary, almost boring, was gone in one night. Now he was marked, hunted, tied to a stranger whose secret could decide the fate of worlds. And yet, as Lyra leaned against the wall, breathing hard, Ethan realized something strange. He was no longer afraid of her. He was afraid of losing her. Because if she died, those creatures wouldn't just stop. They would come for him, and there would be no heartbeat left to hide behind. Ethan clenched his fists, forcing strength into his voice. "Then tell me everything, Lyra. If I'm part of this now, I need to know what I'm fighting." She looked at him, her eyes glowing in the dim light. For the first time, she gave a small nod. "Then listen carefully, human. Because the story I will tell you will change everything you believe about your kind." Ethan sat in silence as Lyra paced the small room. Her bare feet made no sound against the wooden floor, but her presence filled the space like thunderclouds before a storm. Her glowing eyes flickered, restless, as if deciding how much truth to share. At last, she stopped. Her voice was low, yet sharp. "Do you know why they breed hunters, human?" Ethan shook his head. His throat was dry, but he forced out no. "They were made to erase," Lyra said. "Not only lives, entire bloodlines. When one is marked, the hunters follow forever. They do not forgive. They do not forget. I am one of the last of my people. If I die, my kind dies too." Her words hung heavy in the air. Ethan felt as if the walls themselves leaned in to listen. He wanted to dismiss her, to call her insane, but the claw marks outside his door told him she was telling the truth. Ethan asked, "Why would they want to erase your people?" Lyra's eyes softened with pain. "Because my people were keepers of memory. We held songs older than the stars. We carried maps written before war consumed the galaxies. Knowledge is dangerous to those who wish to control, and so they came for us." Her voice broke at the last word. She turned away, hiding her face in shadow. Ethan's chest tightened. He had never seen someone look so strong and so broken at the same time. Then he remembered her earlier words. "I carry something they want. He leaned forward. Lyra, what do you have? She spun back, her silver hair shimmering like threads of moonlight. For a moment, Ethan thought she would lash out. Instead, she reached for her wrist device. Slowly, carefully, she pressed a button. The air above her hand shimmered, and a small glowing sphere appeared. It floated gently like a star ripped from the sky. Lines of light swirled inside it, twisting into shapes Ethan didn't understand. This, Lyra whispered, is the archive, the last record of my people. Inside are the memories, the codes, the truths they tried to erase. Ethan's breath caught. You've been carrying that the whole time? Lyra nodded. Her hands trembled, but she kept the sphere steady. If the hunters take it, they will destroy it. If they destroy it, no one will ever know my people lived. No one will know the warning we left behind. Ethan frowned. Warning? About what? Before she could answer, a sharp bang rattled the door. Both of them froze. Bang, bang, the hunters were back. Lyra instantly shut off the device and the glowing sphere vanished. Her body shifted into a defensive stance, her shoulders squared, her muscles tight. Ethan, with only a broken chair leg in his hand, felt utterly useless. The door creaked under the weight of a heavy claw. Wood splintered. The smell of rot filled the room. Ethan's heart pounded. He whispered, We can't fight them. We have to run. Lyra shook her head. Running only makes the blood trail longer. The door cracked. A single black claw poked through. Ethan's breath hitched. Lyra grabbed his arm and yanked him close. Her whisper was fierce. If you want to live, you must do exactly as I say. Ethan nodded, fear swallowing his voice. The door burst open. A tall figure stepped inside, its body twisted, its face a mask of bone and shadow. Its eyes glowed red, locked straight on Lyra. Ethan wanted to run, but his legs froze. The hunter's claws scraped across the floor, dragging sparks. Its voice was a hiss that chilled the blood. Found you. Lyra shoved Ethan behind her. Her wrist device lit up weakly, flickering like a dying flame. She whispered one final command. Stay behind me, human. Tonight you will learn why they call us the last fighters of memory. The door slammed open with a deafening crack. Splinters of wood scattered across the room as the hunter stepped inside. Its body was taller than the ceiling beams, its back bent but powerful, its claws dragging like hooks across the floor. Ethan's breath locked in his chest. He had never seen anything like it, not even in his worst nightmares. The creature's red eyes glowed like burning coals, scanning the small house with deadly patience. Stay behind me, Lyra whispered again, her voice low but steady. She raised her wrist device. The small machine sputtered with weak light, as if it had little energy left. Ethan wanted to scream at her to run, but she stood her ground. The hunter sniffed the air. The sound was sharp, like knives cutting through silence. Its head tilted toward Ethan, then toward Lyra. Its jaw opened, revealing rows of serrated teeth. Ethan gripped his broken chair leg so tightly his hands shook. He knew it was useless against something like that, but fear gave him no choice. The hunter lunged. In a single motion, Lyra slammed her device to the ground. A wave of blue energy burst outward, forming a shimmering wall between them and the monster. The creature's claws struck the shield with a thunderous clang, sparks exploding into the room. Ethan stumbled back, covering his face. Lyra gritted her teeth. The shield flickered like dying lightning, each strike from the hunter making it weaker. It won't hold long, she shouted. Ethan looked around desperately. His home was small with nowhere to run. The window, the door, both blocked by the creature. Panic clawed at him, but then his eyes fell on the generator outside. If he could overload it, maybe it would create enough of an explosion to scare the thing off.
Or kill them all, Lyra!
Ethan yelled over the roar of claws. The generator, it can blow! Her eyes widened. It could kill us too. Better than being torn apart. The shield cracked. The monster's claw tore a hole through the blue light, its hand reaching for Lyra's throat. She twisted away, slamming her device into the creature's wrist. Sparks burst, the stench of burning flesh filling the air. The hunter shrieked, a sound so sharp Ethan's ears rang. Now, Lyra shouted, Go! Ethan bolted for the back door, slamming it open. The night air was freezing, but adrenaline burned through him. He sprinted to the generator, heart pounding like a drum. His hands fumbled over the wires. He had fixed this machine 100 times, but never tried to destroy it. Inside, Lyra fought like a cornered storm. She moved fast, faster than Ethan thought possible. Each dodge, each strike was sharp and desperate. But the hunter was stronger. It smashed through the table, ripped apart the walls, and pushed her back with every blow. "Ethan!" she screamed. Ethan ripped the wires free. Sparks flew. The generator hummed dangerously. He kicked it hard, sending it into overload. The lights in the house flickered wildly. Lyra saw it too. Her eyes blazed. She darted backward, grabbed Ethan's arm, and pulled him behind a thick wall just as the generator burst. The explosion shook the ground. Flames roared, swallowing the house in a wave of smoke and fire. The hunter shrieked again, its body flung through the air, crashing into the trees beyond. Silence followed. Only the crackle of fire filled the night. Ethan coughed, his ears ringing. His home, everything he owned, was gone. A pile of burning wood and smoke. He turned to Lyra, anger and shock boiling in his chest. "You brought this to me. You destroyed my life in one night." Lyra's face was pale in the firelight, her silver hair glowing like a ghost. She looked at him with sorrow but also steel. "No," she said softly. "I saved your life, and now whether you like it or not, you are bound to me. The hunters know your heartbeat. They will follow you until the end." Ethan's stomach dropped. His old life, his quiet life, it was gone. He was marked. He was hunted, and the only ally he had was the strange alien woman standing before him in the firelight. For the first time, Ethan realized he wasn't the one sheltering Lyra. She was the only thing keeping him alive. The fire still burned behind them, eating away at the last remains of Ethan's quiet life. Smoke curled into the night sky, carrying sparks like dying stars. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the ruins of his home, his chest heavy with loss. He had lived there for years. It was small, lonely, but it was his, and now it was ash. Beside him, Lyra pressed her trembling hands to her wrist device, trying to keep it alive. The screen flickered weakly, almost broken from the fight. She glanced at Ethan, reading the anger in his eyes. "I didn't choose this for you," she said softly. Ethan snapped back. "But you brought it here. You ruined everything." Lyra flinched but did not look away. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "If I had not been here, you would already be dead. The hunters marked you the moment they smelled your fear." Ethan's anger faltered. He remembered the red eyes staring through him, the claws scraping the floor. She was right. He would not have survived a minute without her. Still, the pain of losing everything twisted inside him. He sat down on a fallen log, burying his face in his hands. "So that's it? My life is over. I just run with you until they kill me?" Lyra crouched in front of him. Her glowing green eyes met his. For the first time, her voice softened into something almost human. "Not run, fight." Ethan lifted his head slowly. "Fight with what? A broken chair leg?" Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "With me. You fight with me." The words sank deep into him. He wanted to deny it, to push her away. But then a sound broke the moment. "Howl!" A chilling, metallic cry echoed through the trees. Ethan's blood froze. Lyra's eyes darkened. "They call for each other," she whispered. "The wounded one survived. Now the others come." Ethan's hand shook. "More of them?" "Yes, once one finds you, the rest follow." He stood, panic rising in his chest. "Then we have to leave. We can't stay here." Lyra nodded. "The night is theirs. But if we reach the river before dawn, their scent fades in water. It may give us time." Ethan looked at her, torn between fear and disbelief. He wanted to ask why she knew so much, why she trusted him to run with her, why she had chosen his home out of all places. But the howl came again, closer this time. There was no time for questions. They began to run. The forest was alive with danger. Every tree seemed to lean in, every shadow stretched long. Ethan's lungs burned, his legs weak, but Lyra moved like flowing water. She grabbed his arm whenever he stumbled, her strength pulling him forward. At one point, Ethan tripped over a root. He fell hard, pain shooting through his knees. Lyra turned instantly, crouching beside him. Her hands pressed against his chest again, just like that first moment when he had woken up. "Listen," she whispered urgently. "Slow your breathing. Slow your heart. They hear it." Ethan tried, gasping, forcing himself to breathe slower. Her palms pressed harder, steady, guiding his rhythm. For a moment his panic softened, his heartbeat matching hers. The world quieted. Then the shadows moved. Two hunters slipped between the trees, their red eyes glowing in the dark. They moved silently this time, their claws curling with hunger. Ethan's heart jumped in fear, but Lyra's grip held him still. "Not yet. she whispered. Wait! The hunters sniffed the air, their heads tilting. One stepped closer, its claws dragging across a stone. Ethan felt his body scream to run, but Lyra's eyes held him frozen. Finally, after endless seconds, the hunters turned away, chasing the stronger trail of smoke back toward his burning house. Ethan exhaled shakily. Lyra helped him stand, her voice firm. Now you understand. Your fear is their map. If you lose control, they will always find you. Ethan swallowed hard. For the first time, he saw her not just as a stranger, but as his teacher, his shield, maybe even his only hope. He whispered, then teach me. If I have to fight with you, I have to learn. Lyra's glowing eyes met his in the dark. She gave a slow, serious nod. Then listen well, human, because from this moment, you are no longer prey. The river was not far, but the night stretched endlessly around them. By the time Ethan and Lyra reached the rushing water, dawn had already painted the sky in shades of pale blue. Ethan dropped to his knees, gasping for air. His legs shook, his lungs burned, and his heart threatened to pound its way out of his chest. He had never run like this in his life. Lyra knelt beside him, her glowing eyes scanning the forest. The hunters had not followed them this far, but their howl still echoed in the distance. She touched the water with her hand, watching it ripple. For now we are safe, she said. Ethan wanted to believe her. He stared at his reflection in the river, sweat, dirt, fear written all over his face. He barely recognized himself. He muttered, safe, until they find us again. Lyra looked at him. Then we prepare. If you want to live, you must learn to fight. Ethan almost laughed. He was no soldier. He had lived a quiet life fixing machines, growing food, keeping to himself. Now she wanted him to face monsters that could tear through steel. It sounded insane. But the fire where his house once stood was still burning in his mind. He knew he had no choice. How, he asked. How do I fight something like them? Lyra's face was calm, but her voice was sharp. You don't fight them as you are. You fight them as I teach you. She stood and pulled a short blade from her belt. The metal shimmered faintly with alien markings. She handed it to Ethan. It was lighter than he expected, perfectly balanced, but it felt alive in his hand. Lesson 1, Lyra said, circling him. Control your heartbeat. Fear is sound to them. They don't see you with eyes. They hear you with blood. Ethan frowned. And if I can't control it? Her gaze was steady. Then you die. The words cut deep. Lyra stepped behind him, placing her hands on his shoulders. Breathe in, she whispered. Slow, hold, release, feel the rhythm. Let it obey you. At first, Ethan shook with nerves. His breath was ragged, his grip on the blade clumsy. But Lyra stayed close, her voice calm, her movements guiding his. Slowly, his heart eased. The pounding slowed. For a brief moment, silence filled his chest. Good, Lyra said softly. Now you are less than prey. You are shadow. Ethan opened his eyes. The forest seemed clearer somehow. Every sound, every movement felt sharper. He could almost sense the hunters in the distance, their howls faint but real. Lesson 2, Lyra continued, pulling away. She raised her own blade. Do not meet strength with strength. Hunters are stronger, faster. You fight with movement. You fight with mind. She lunged suddenly, her blade flashing toward him. Ethan barely lifted his weapon in time. Sparks flew as the blades met. He stumbled backward, almost falling into the river. Again, she ordered. Ethan growled in frustration but raised his blade. She attacked fast, her strikes sharp, her movements a blur. He blocked clumsily, his arms aching, but each clash taught him something. Step back, shift weight, keep breathing. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, painting the river gold. Ethan's body screamed for rest, but Lyra did not stop. Her strikes grew harsher, forcing him to adapt. Slowly, painfully, he did. Finally, when sweat drenched his shirt and his arms felt like stone, he managed to block one of her blows cleanly and twist his blade enough to push her back. Lyra froze. Then for the first time she smiled. It was faint, fleeting, but it was real. Lesson 3, she said. Never forget you are human, and humans survive because they refuse to die. Ethan stood there, chest heaving, blade trembling in his hand. But inside something had shifted. The fear was still there, but it was no longer alone. Determination burned beside it. He met her glowing eyes. Then teach me everything. If I'm hunted, I won't run forever. I'll fight. Lyra nodded slowly. Her smile faded, replaced by grim certainty. Good, because the hunters are not alone, and the one leading them will come for us soon. The river roared behind them, carrying the sound of her words into the world. And Ethan knew. His real battle was only beginning. The forest grew silent. Too silent. Ethan stood by the river, blade trembling in his hand, sweat dripping from his forehead. Lyra's training echoed in his mind. Control your breath, slow your heart, move with thought. But tonight none of it felt enough. The hunters were coming, their howls shook the trees closer than ever. Branches snapped. Shadows stretched. The ground itself seemed to tremble beneath their march. But this time it wasn't just hunters. It was something worse. Lyra's glowing eyes narrowed. She whispered, "He is here." Ethan swallowed hard. "I'll the one who leads them," she said. "The Bloodseer. He is the reason my people are dead, and now he comes for the archive." Her hand touched the device on her wrist where the glowing sphere of memory was hidden. For the first time, Ethan saw not just fear in her eyes, but rage. Then the trees split open. The Bloodseer stepped into view. Taller than the hunters, its body armored with bone plates, its face a skull of pale ivory. Its red eyes locked on Lyra, ignoring Ethan completely. "You cannot hide," it hissed, its voice like broken glass. The last of memory must be erased. Hunters poured out of the forest behind it, claws ready, jaws snapping. The air reeked of rot and iron. Ethan's legs shook, but he forced himself to stand firm. He gripped his blade tighter, remembering Lyra's lessons. Not prey, shadow. Move with mind. The Bloodseer raised its hand. The hunters rushed forward. "Now," Lyra shouted. Ethan ducked low as one hunter slashed at him. The claws missed by inches, tearing bark instead of flesh. His blade flashed clumsily, but it struck, scraping across the creature's arm. The beast roared, staggering back. Lyra fought beside him, her movements sharp and precise. Her blade cut through another hunter, her body twisting like lightning. She was faster, stronger, deadlier, but even she could not fight them all. The Bloodseer stepped closer, watching like a predator amused by prey. Its red eyes glowed brighter, its voice whispering through the trees. "You cannot fight forever. The archive will be mine," Lyra snarled, slamming her blade through another hunter. She shouted back, "Over my body!" Ethan's chest burned. He was tired, clumsy, barely standing. But her words lit a fire in him. He thought of his house in flames, his quiet life destroyed, the fear that had chased him for nights. He refused to die as prey. Another hunter lunged. This time Ethan's body moved on instinct. He sidestepped, slashed upward, and the blade tore across the creature's throat. Black blood spilled. The hunter collapsed. Ethan's eyes widened. He had done it. Lyra shouted, "Good." Again, the battle raged. Hunters fell one by one, but still more came. The Bloodseer finally stepped forward, towering above them. Its claws stretched long, glowing faintly with red energy. Lyra pushed Ethan back. "This one is mine." But Ethan grabbed her arm. "No, we fight together." The Bloodseer roared, slamming its claws into the ground. The earth cracked, throwing them both off balance. It charged, faster than anything Ethan had seen. Lyra blocked its first strike, sparks flying as her blade clashed against bone. Ethan leapt forward, stabbing his weapon at its side. The blade scraped but did not pierce. The monster swung at him. Ethan barely dodged, feeling the wind of its claws cut his skin. Lyra shouted, "Its heart." "The mark is in its chest!" Ethan's eyes darted to the glowing red lines across its body. The center of its chest pulsed faintly like a second heart. The Bloodseer raised its claws for a killing blow. Ethan's body screamed to run, but instead he remembered her lessons. He slowed his breath. He stilled his heart. For a moment, silence filled him. Then he moved. He ducked under the claws, rolled forward, and drove his blade straight into the glowing chest. The Bloodseer shrieked, its scream shaking the earth. Black-red light burst from the wound. Lyra leapt in, slamming her blade deep into the same spot. Together they tore the heart apart. The Bloodseer collapsed with a final bone-cracking roar. The hunters froze. Then, without their master, they dissolved into ash, scattering into the night wind. Silence returned. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping. Lyra stood over the fallen body, her chest heaving, her blade dripping black blood. She looked at Ethan, sweat, dirt, and exhaustion covering him, and for the first time her eyes softened. "You fought," she whispered. "You fought like one of us." Ethan let out a shaky laugh. "Guess I'm more than prey after all." Lyra knelt beside him, placing the archive gently in his hands. The glowing sphere pulsed softly, alive with memory. My people are gone, she said, her voice breaking. But with you, human, maybe their story will live. Ethan looked at the glowing sphere, then at her. The night air was still, the forest quiet, the hunters gone. For the first time, he didn't feel like he had lost everything. He felt like he had found something worth protecting.